If you'd like to contact the show, send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com or follow us on any of our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Live on Four Legs Podcast and on Twitter at Live on Four Legs Pod.
I don't know, maybe a few of you are here on Sunday. There might be a few of you that never left, I don't know. But on Sunday we, you know what, fuck you, give me a fucking break. Wait a minute, I'm fucking... It's great to be here in Rhode Island. I'm trying to keep my shit together. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Gentlemen! Mama Queen! Matt fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper! You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hey everybody now, welcome to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast, and whether you're listening in for the first time, the second time, and hopefully not the last time, we are a Pearl Jam podcast that focuses directly on their live performances throughout their history. So we'll go to a random year, take a good year like 1995, the Vitalogy Tour. They were doing some non-Ticketmaster venues, Soldier Field, some really important shows. We've done a lot of those that are in our archives. We'll take a show like that, we'll listen to all the songs, and we'll break them down, and we'll kind of just share our favorite memories and our favorite moments, what makes Pearl Jam the best band on the planet, in our opinion. So, Randy Sobel here, John Ferrara over there. Another episode, another week with quarantining and social distancing. You keeping your sanity there?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. We got our little routine, so we're doing well. But yeah, I hope everybody's staying safe out there. Wear your masks, stay inside if you can. Stay safe. So we'll get through this.
And just remember, the day this is all over, it'll be emotional and exciting, and hopefully there'll be a concert.
It'll be worth it to get to these shows when the time comes. Yeah,
absolutely. So I know that there might be some fatigue from people that are they're sick and tired of it, and they're sick and tired of staying in the house. Just buckle up. Just get through it. We're all trying to get through it together, and we all feel the same way. And we just gotta make sure that we're not picketing on the roads.
So what you're saying is you're saying it's going to be all right if we just take the long way. We can make it to 7:00, and I lost it.
We'll cross the river. I don't know.
Cross the river. Okay.
Yeah.
This thing comes, then goes.
Whoever said? Yeah.
I was trying to work in a super blood wolf moon, but it wasn't happening.
Yeah, no. I think we took it as far as we could there. But anyway, today we are going to go back to the year 2008 and do Mansfield Night 2. This was a Patreon request from Jason Corbin, who's been our patron for a couple months, and he's been listening since very close to day one, I believe. So yeah, Thanks, a big thank you to him, and we're going to tell his story, and we're going to get to it very shortly. But before we get into all of that, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we have going on right now. And of course, every episode we start off with talking a little bit about Patreon and some of the things that we have going on over there. This week, we released a setlist draft episode, and every month, if you haven't tuned in or aren't following us on social media for whatever reason, if you're not, how dare you? Just kidding. But if you didn't know what we were doing, we've been doing every month a set list draft where we take 4 people and we go through and it's basically like a fantasy draft, except you're picking the set list from top to bottom. So, the first pick wouldn't be your favorite song. The first pick is the first thing that you want to hear. It's your opener. And then you go second song, third song. And then if a song is off the board, that's it. It's cut. It's done. And then adding gigaton rules and all that. So what we're going to do for you at the end of this episode, for people that aren't on Patreon, we're just going to give you a little bit of a sample of what we did in our current set list draft. And I'm sure at this point on Wednesday, you'll be seeing all of the spots to vote on social media, and we'll get another winner in that way. But just want to give you about 3 picks or so where you can see what the draft is like, and if that's something that interests you, please get in touch with us. And we're always looking for more people to be involved with this big project that we're very proud of.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we released the very first one we did back in December on, I think it was on the main platform, so you can go back and check that out if you want. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we got big plans for the future. We can go to different eras, like we could draft a 98 show or a 2003 show or a 2009 show. Like we got lots of different ways to go with this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when I want to up the set list numbers. I want to do a ballpark show where we get to draft 35 songs instead of 30 songs.
Yeah, we'll see.
But anyway, it's all in good fun, and, it's just a cool little experiment that anybody that's a nerdy Pearl Jam fan would definitely be all over and love to dissect and get into. So that's over on Patreon. If you are a part of Patreon, we thank you for continuing to subscribe and be a part of this. What we're doing is...
How could they be a part of Patreon if they're not?
Well, there are 2 ways, and really it's very simple. Either you download the Patreon app and you sign up that way and just search Live on 4 Legs, and we pop up because nobody else is going to ever have a name like that. And you can subscribe. There are 2 different tiers to subscribe to, either a $1 bonus leg tier or the $5 Giga Leg tier. And the $1 tier gets you pretty much everything. With the $5 tier, you'll get an episode that you'll get to choose to come on air.
Yeah, you get priority to pick an episode for us to cover. You can tell a story like Jason did today, or you can come on the episode, but we've got a long backlog. So the $5 Giga Leg people are going to get moved to the front of the line. So that's a good deal.
And when we say front of the line, sometimes front of the line means 2021 in this case.
Yeah, 6 months from now, instead of 18 months from now. Yeah,
we are trying our best, but we kind of did put ourselves into a hole this year when we wanted to. We said we wanted to cover every single country that Pearl Jam's ever played in. So, it happens, but, we're able to splice them in every now and again. We want to get to the people that are nice enough to donate to us. So everything goes back into, helping out the show and helping out some charitable causes that we've been working on as well. So Live on 4 Legs on Patreon, patreon.com/live on 4 legs. Hit it up today. And also you get to be a part of our monthly bootleg giveaway that we're going to give away a bootleg for a random show that we do that we're going to cover for an episode. So if you like bootlegs, if you like Pearl Jam and you want more of it, you like the show, if you're a big fan of the show and you're not on Patreon and you want more of this show and you want more of us talking about just live music and talking about the band, like, this is $1 to do all that is a home run. That's absolutely, I'm trying not to be biased here, but look, you know what to expect. Everything is on the table. So.
Yeah, and like we say, the more people interact with us and the more people that join, it makes us want to do more and more. Like,
absolutely.
Setlist Draft, we're doing Bridge School, we've done extra episodes, we're doing all kinds of things. So, and sometimes we put even like little kind of crazy bonus stuff up there, like the Diva episodes. I put up that Mike Watt video for the patrons a couple of months ago. Sometimes
Your
I'll
series
just throw
playlist?
up little things. Yeah. So yeah, we like to think we make it worth $1 a month. So thanks definitely to all those people. We appreciate it, especially in these times.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, for anybody that's, kind of interested and maybe interested in getting a story, look, we've done episodes where people have requested a show and have told us a really good story, and we've saved it, and they haven't been patrons. So anybody has a good story or a show that they really want us to cover that they're really looking forward to, you always send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com. And also, if you have that email, take the opportunity to send us your Wrigley stories, because we're doing a whole month of nothing but Wrigley shows from 2013 to 2016, 2018, and we're looking for your stories that we're going to share on air, and we're going to do some special episodes for that, have some special guests we're hoping, and it's going to be, we want to do it to perfection, so the only way that we can do it to perfection is we get everybody's help. So send us an email.
We might have to do a two-parter on those. Might get a Wednesday and Thursday.
I was expecting that.
Break, yeah.
I was expecting that. So, anything for the Wrigley shows, they're obviously up there in the pantheon of some of the most favorite shows in Pearl Jam lore. So, liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know your favorite Wrigley moments, your stories. Everybody has them that went to those shows. So
maybe if we ask people to send in their top 3 moments like we usually do, maybe we can do like a crowdsourced moment, like the moments that get the most people emailing about. We'll give those a little shout out on the show.
I can dig that. Sure. Yeah. Why not? Anything that gets more participation, I'm in for. So, okay, let's get back into talking a little bit about Mansfield 2008. This was the last show for the 2008 tour, sort of an East Coast swing. I think it was around 13 shows, if I'm not mistaken.
They did one small private show after this. The night
after. It was in New York.
Theater show, which is that's a crazy show, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that we can get into at some point when we're back on the full East Coast bandwagon. But, it was mostly stuff like Florida and Virginia and places like that. So small little tour following up on Avocado. They didn't really do too much in 2007, and this is sort of the bridge in between Avocado and Backspacer. And if you remember, we did that Copenhagen show a couple of weeks ago, and that was we said it was the last show of the era of Backspacer. This is sort of the last of the era of Avocado, which I find really interesting, and there's a really big talking point somewhere in here we'll get to.
Yeah, they always make the last night of these tours special, being that that's a night 2. The night 1 set list is great, but they always save some things for night 2. They like to loosen up and get a little crazy on these night 2s, especially at the end of the tour.
Absolutely. And why don't we get to our story here from Jason? He was nice enough to send us a really good story, and I was, there's something in this story that while reading it, I was just like, I was crossing my fingers. I was hoping for the best. I was hoping for a really good outcome, and I got it. And I think you all are going to really enjoy this. So he was nice enough to write into us. He said, "First of all, I just want to say that I love the show. I'm a little behind on some, but I will make sure I listen to all eventually." Yeah, we're all behind. It's okay. We all have stuff to do. We get it. It's cool. If you're behind, that's fine. If you're listening to this in August, that's totally fine. This is archival stuff right here. So I'm trying to listen to each show prior to listening to the podcast. As you know, that can take a long time with the length of the concerts. I'm glad to be a Patreon member to help you guys out so you can keep the podcast going, and I upgraded to the gig leg level about a month or so ago. There are a lot more shows to review, so trying to help you out as much as I can, and I'm glad you guys are going to review this June 30th, 2008 Mansfield show. You're probably wondering why I chose this show for my Patreon choice. It's not a landmark show like the 2003 Mansfield shows, but it's very special to me. For the 2008 tour, there were two shows here in Mansfield, one on the 28th and one on the 30th. I was able to get tickets to both shows. For the 28th show, we had 4 tickets. I went with my brother and a few friends. For those that don't know, Mansfield is a town of Boston, which makes it a huge pain in the ass for anyone that lives north in the city to get to. It's an outdoor shed in the middle of a local small community, but the one good thing, at least at the time, was that parking was free and they allowed tailgating, but alcohol was not allowed. However, if you put drinks in a solo cup and were not morons, they will let you drink. So on the 28th was a Saturday, which is a talking point that gets added in later in this show. So it was a long day of tailgating, and I had a lot of fun that night. It was my brother's one and only Pearl Jam show. He's not a big fan, but he knows the hits and had a great time. For the 6:30 show, I only had 2 tickets, and it was a Monday night right before the 4th of July, so a lot of friends were out of town for vacation. But June 30th was a big day for me because it was my 30th birthday, so I had to get to see Pearl Jam on my birthday, even if I was going alone. But no one wants to be alone on their birthday, especially a milestone birthday. I did celebrate with my brother and friends on the 28th, so it's not like I didn't get to celebrate. So as I was looking to find somebody to go with, I posted that I had tickets on the great social media interaction MySpace. If you guys even remember what MySpace is, everybody remembers what MySpace is. But it was Facebook before Facebook, he says. In a sense, it was awful. If you're young enough to not know what MySpace is, MySpace was.
I think it was good for
brutal.
music. Like, I think a lot of people still
banned MySpace,
even like it for music. It was very musician friendly, but yeah, not much for anything else. I never even had a MySpace account.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. So, anyhow, a friend that I had from work reached out and said she would like to go to the show with me. And we've been friends for about 5 years at that point, as we met at work at the financial institution in Boston. We were in the same circle of work friends and spent many Thursday, Friday nights at Boston after work at bars, but we never hung out alone. To keep the story short, we had a great time that night, and it turned out to be our first date. Now, 12 years later, who knew a Pearl Jam show would lead to me getting married? We got married in 2011, and we'll be celebrating our 9th anniversary in October. We have 2 awesome but crazy boys that are 5 and 7, and hopefully sometime soon I'll get to take them, one or both of them, to a Pearl Jam show. So, look at that. Look at that. You know,
yeah, it's a great story.
It really is. You get to spurn love from, just somebody that you kind of know, that's an acquaintance, going to a Pearl Jam show with you. And here's something that I wonder. For big fans that go to these shows, you're really in your element and you really get to show a side of yourself that you wouldn't necessarily show if you're in public on a regular first date. It's an interesting little, I don't want to say experiment, but, to get to be around somebody who is absolutely passionate about something so special to them and get to see how they react to it, that could have such an impact on somebody, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. And you get to let loose a little bit. It's an excuse, it's loud and it's an excuse to, you can sing along and get a little crazy and not have to feel bad about it, not feel like you're causing a scene because there's 15, 20,000 other people there doing the same thing.
Sure, yeah. And, you get to, obviously, it's not often that you get to see your favorite band and when you're singing along to the songs and they speak to you and you get a little, I don't know how Jason was feeling, but, sometimes you get a little emotional, sometimes you get a little excited. And again, you're really in your element. I think that's when my wife and I did our episode about the Boston show. That was her first show. She had mentioned that it was sort of, she understood my life after that. So I totally get how somebody would fall in love with a Pearl Jam fan after, going to see them with them. So
and yeah, I mean, it's something that people are passionate about, and that kind of when you're passionate about something, it kind of shows your best self, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I get that totally.
Thanks again for Jason.
Yeah, definitely.
Just finish off his email here. He says to us, and this is just something nice to say to somebody. We're not a podcast that really talks about our fans and talks about ourselves a whole lot. So, getting an opportunity to do this is kind of cool. And just to say that somebody said this about us makes us feel really good. He says, we've never met in person before, but I feel like I've made a friend as we've chatted so many times on email or over Facebook Messenger, and I got to join one of the fantasy drafts. Additionally, I don't know if you remember, but I shared a Google Drive of my Pearl Jam shows with you back at the beginning of the podcast, and you can use as many as you want, and hopefully you'll be able to use them for your research for your shows, and it makes me feel like me being him makes me feel like I was a small part of the show by contributing that. So that's really, really nice of you to say, Jason. And we have a lot of fantastic fans that we can now call friends. It's been such a seamless transition where people have gotten in touch with us and reached out to us, and you know who you are. It's people out there that have been really into the show, and we've made really good friends that way. And I thank Jason for being a part of this, and no contribution goes unnoticed. And again, this is just such an awesome community that we get to have something like this. So again, thank you to him and everybody else that's been a part of this. Whether you're donating or you're not, this has been awesome to get to know everybody. So,
yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it any better.
Yep. All right, to the show. We opened the show with Wash, and it was cool. So the first night they open up with Hard to Imagine, and that's a really solid, rare song kind of open and kind of sets the mood for the night. And Wash does the same exact thing. So you have two in a row that you would think that one of these nights you'd be getting something more common, because that's usually what they do on this, on a 2-night basis. But man, back-to-back nights, you get some really powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this version of Wash is fantastic. Like, I love when Stone breaks out the acoustic guitar, kind of taking it back to those 91, 92 record store shows, and there's actually video of this one. There's not video of the whole show, but you can check out a video of Wash, and like Ed's right from the beginning is emoting, and he's throwing his hands above his head and doing the waves, and like the whole band's into it. Great version of Wash here. I love when it starts off a show.
Yeah, and it was going through a little bit of a drought at the time, 69 shows since it had last been played before they played it. So Wash has gone through that. It's gone through the motions of, going through these droughts that are 50 and 60 shows or so, and then popping right back in. It seems like, for the most part, they can go back into the song and not have any problems at all, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and these two nights were the first time that they'd played Mansfield since the experiment. So maybe that had something to do with it too. They kind of remembered from before, like, hey, these people are used to hearing some rare songs. We can break these out, and it won't be too crazy.
The one thing about this Wash performance, I thought Mike's guitar tone was a little weird. I don't know if you noticed that. It sounded a little muffled, little distorted.
He's very loud in the mix. I think that might have something to do with it too.
Yeah.
The official bootleg is very mic heavy. He's way louder than everything else.
Right, and it doesn't go that way for most of the set. There were a couple of other songs that sort of popped in. I'm wondering if it was just a certain guitar he was using or something like that. But I just noticed I didn't love the sound that was coming out of Mike from this. But outside of that, Eddie at the end was doing his best to bring a song that he never plays and act like he's been playing it every night since 1992.
Walks my love, 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 yeah.
little screamy with it, like getting down and, screaming the Wash My Love part. Yeah, fantastic version of Wash.
Good stuff, yep. So that gets into Last Exit, and they go into this, and they are very excited to get into the song because it's a little bit of a false start, but man, they just keep going, and it's like this was meant to happen. We talked a couple weeks ago in the Berlin episode that there were a couple moments in that show where it just felt they were mistakes, but it felt like they were happy mistakes, that they were happy accidents almost. And this kind of turns into a little bit of a call and response on the fly, which sounded really awesome after they found the energy. The guitar tone was weird at the beginning. It was kind of a jangly intro to Last Exit, which was weird, but yeah, somehow the guitar got off and then they stopped, and then Ed kind of turned it into something cool. Like, yeah, he make lemonade out of lemons, right? So sure.
Again, they're just adorable when they screw up. Like, you can't be mad at them.
Something like this, when if you start and stop and start up again, then it can be a little bit irritating. I know they've done that with some songs and they've seemed frustrated, but when you hide that and you're just kind of like, yeah, well, we fucked up, that's great, now let's rock, then cool. I've absolutely no problem with that, and they make it fun. They make it a part of the show, and sometimes those are even the more memorable moments. I know a lot of people have brought that up.
And they were laughing about it. Like, no one's going to get mad and throw their guitar down and walk off stage and be like, there's not going to be band infighting after, like, you fucked it up. No, you fucked it up. Like, no, right. They're very easygoing. They're seasoned.
Yeah,
it's lighthearted. Yeah, it's fine.
So after Last Exit, you get a section here in this beginning area of Save You, Severed Hand, Animal, MFC. Great immediate transition between Last Exit into Save You to really get you pumped up. It gets you the speedsters early on. The crowd pumped up from the get-go. And it reminds me, again, we mentioned before that Copenhagen show where all of that first set was just bam, everything moved really fast. I think it was very similar to that. And again, the similarities being that this was the last show of the tour.
Yeah, and fantastic. I thought Save You was great. The crowd's into it from the beginning with the clapping. Jeff has a really nice little breakdown part. Severed Hand, I think the only Avocado song?
That was the point that I was going to bring up.
Yeah, it's a little unique, and already in its spot, like number 4, right where it should be, and a great solo. Animal, again, the crowd going crazy, loving it. And MFC's a nice little bonus there from Yield early. Like, again, mixing up the albums, going 10 Era, Vitalogy, Riot Act, Avocado versus Yield, like 6 songs from different albums, all from right at the front. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a pretty mixed show there. I don't think any album really dominated the show, but I think with Avocado only having one song, though, that it is the beginning of the end of the era. That's how I see this. Yep. And if you go to the night before, the first night, there were only 2 songs played, Comatose and Come Back. So that's really, even the shows that we've covered, the other shows that happened before this night, we covered all 3 of them, the 2 MSG ones and the Hartford show. And most, I think, they all hit 5. I was at one of those shows, and I'm pretty sure that they hit at least 5.
Yeah, think about that, too. How weird would it be when they come back if they only do 1 or 2 Gigaton songs? Like, if they get to Los Angeles or Oakland or Europe. Like, yeah, that would be so strange, I think.
Yeah, I think they're so ready to play Gigaton that, again, if it would not surprise me at all if they did a full album every night. I know I've mentioned that, but...
Yeah, I think you could be onto something there. That wouldn't surprise me at all, yeah.
Right, just, to give something back to the fans and say, you know what, you've been listening to this album for a full year.
Or even do it in reverse order. Start with River Cross opening and go in reverse.
Oh, you're taking a little bit of a play out of a certain playbook there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'll see later on in this episode when we add in the set list draft. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I don't know if John did that on purpose.
No, but yeah, it's a good tie-in.
Good crowd participation on Animal on this. Ed kind of passes the mic to the crowd, lets them sing. It's loud. This was a pretty loud, when the crowd was doing call and response stuff, the crowd was really into it at the show. And it's really, you say Mansfield, but it's a Boston show, so of course it's going to be a hot crowd. And it's a great 5-song stretch to start off the show, and you finish out strong with MFC, a song that doesn't really get to be a part of this little section here for the most part. And, that kind of sets up here where Ed greets the crowd and says we have all the ingredients for a special night tonight, including a few bottles of wine and some great people. Big signs, and I'm wondering if there was a sign in the front that was especially obnoxious that Ed was referencing there, but, no idea. That there's not a lot of video that's out there on the show.
I would guess it would probably be Dirty Frank.
That could be the one, or Leash, or something, the regulars. So... they said, we got one more show tomorrow, but we're not going to have much left because we're going to spend it all tonight. And it's been a small tour.
They did have to start the next night seated. They did the first 5 songs sitting down.
Right.
I think Ed said he had to get like a shot in his ass or something to be able to play because he was like feeling a little sick. But yeah, they make it through this one. They left it all out.
They really did. The handful of shows that I've listened to at like the end of this tour, they sound like they're really leaving everything on the table, and this is this is the culmination of all of that. So he says, been a small tour, the crowd's been great, but the first time we played here was actually with Soundgarden in 1992, so that's a little interesting tidbit there. Is that Lollapalooza?
Great Woods Center? Probably.
Yeah.
It would have been at the same... Well, no, this is Tweeter Center, so yeah, Great Woods.
I think
it is Lollapalooza.
Yeah, I think that
in August
the two
of
venues are the same. Yeah, I think it's just different names.
Yeah,
well, cool little tie-in. Elderly Woman comes after that, and again, when you have a crowd like this and they're singing along to the popular songs, they are as prominent and loud as Ed is. And we get to the final chorus again, like Animal, he just lets the crowd go at it, and it's a Boston crowd.
When you ready?
And it's the perfect thing after that fast set to get it to kind of reset and let everybody catch their breath and have another moment. So again, he's the master of making these set lists and make everything flow. So yeah, this set list too has a great flow to it, I thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is pretty much standard what you want out of a Pearl Jam set. You have in the beginning, you have a couple that you might not necessarily get out there, and the songs in the middle of the set that we're going to get to in a second aren't necessarily the ones in the middle. So let's kind of break that down. So after Elderly Woman, you get of the pre-even flow spot songs, you get Half Full, which is basically, Ed just shitting all over George Bush. for most of it. Don't see
Great
George
solo
Bush.
too. And again, a little bit like Last Exit. Like it started off a little rough. I think someone was off at the beginning, but they picked it up quickly and got right into it. But yeah, Half Full, one of the most played songs off of Riot Act, and it's a chance for Mike to let loose at the end. It was great.
Yeah, this was another one that I was a little bit bothered by the sound of Mike's guitar. Again, going back to what was going on in Wash, I don't know if it was just the guitar itself, but not to say that the solo wasn't good. The solo was excellent. I was just it was a little muffled for me. I don't know if it came off better live than it did on the bootleg. Just curious.
Sure, it did, and I think it's a fault of the mix. I think it might have been a little overdriven in the mix and maybe clipping a little bit. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, for sure. After Half Full, this is what I was kind of alluding to here. This is not a song that you usually see mid-set like this, and it's in that upper tier of the 2, 3, 4 kind of songs, and Corduroy just plop right in the middle before you get into Even Flow, and you get that little tease pluck right there, and this is, I think, when you're out of that first 3 or 4, and you don't get a Corduroy, your mind is thinking, okay, no Corduroy tonight. All right, I'm cool with that. We'll get Corduroy the next time. But then it pops up mid-set like this, and I think it makes it that much more valuable and that much more exciting to get it there.
Yeah, I think this too, you could call this the McCready section from Half Full through Even Flow. Like it's every song, he's just on fire and just takes it over. Yeah, another great solo.
Before the pre-Even Flow spot, we get Ed mentioning that today somebody gave one of the members of the crew a newspaper article, although he lost it, and it had a 5-year-old with a Pearl Jam shirt on it, and they wanted to show the picture because he was kind enough to autograph it for him. So, interesting. And they said they went from playing little bars, seeing thousands of people out there tailgating, so to get a 5-year-old signing his autograph for him.
Yeah, and that kid's probably graduating high school right now.
In his house.
Yeah.
And the next song was dedicated to him, being Given a Fly. Very solid version that continued the very nice momentum that they were on in the main set here. And I think you're kind of alluding to, you thought that this was really a Mike section. I think this show, Matt was really the standout to me, and especially these two in a row. I thought that Matt was just killer on both Given a Fly and Even Flow here.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't mean to underestimate him at all. Yeah, Matt Cameron's and this Even Flow too. This had been starting in 2006, I believe. It was the era of the drum solo.
Oh yeah.
So we get a little bit of a little Matt Cameron drum solo, trying to keep up with McCready there.
think that something like this would wipe him clean. No, not the case. Matt just absolutely finishes off like a monster. I give him full credit, and I know that Ed, every time after playing Even Flow, has to say, like, that's Mike McCready or that's Matt Cameron, because they just get lost in it, and he takes a step back and he's able to see, it's like, whoa, I'm playing with some real, some players here. Like, I'm on the team. Happy to be on the team, but those are Hall of Famers.
Being able to see this, no pun intended, this force of nature, like, behind him. Like, we talked about it in that Berlin episode where they're just a 5-headed monster on stage. Like, they can break out at any time and just punch you in the face. Like, he has the best seat in the house for this band.
He does mention Matt after the song, and he says that there was an article written in a local paper about him.
The article described Matt, it said, whose tastefulness is equaled by his sheer muscularity. That's what I always thought, and I always wanted to tell him, but I thought it might freak him out a bit, so I never said anything.
Fun little thing over there, and whenever they get a chance to goof around and kind of tease each other.
Yeah, they're in good spirits. It's the end of the tour. They got one more show the next day, and then they get to go home. So they're all in a good mood.
For sure, yeah. And with a good mood sometimes comes songs that you're not going to hear a lot, and that's where Education comes in.
I'm questioning my education. Is my education who I am now? While you're deciding, I've been finding, looking around in my hearing now. If I've been taught from the beginning, would my fears now be winning? I'm questioning my own equation.
Education. It was only the 6th time they had ever played it. 9 times it's been played overall, so Mansfield is getting a pretty good treat here. So we never really talk about it on the show. It's obviously it's one of those lost dogs that with 9 times that they're ever going to play it and the 1,000+ shows that we have to get to that are on our big board. We've covered it once before, maybe Vic Theater, maybe there was some other show somewhere, but that means you haven't gotten a chance to talk about it. So go ahead. What do you like about the song? Like, where does it stand on your favorites from the B-sides?
Yeah, I love it. It's one of those that's got a unique kind of mood or a vibe to it. Like just from the beginning when it's that first note and it does that like
yeah. That's a fun little moment.
And we just had Binaural Week where we celebrated Binaural is 20 years old now. And if you go back and look at what the original track list would have been, Education was going to be last on that album, which is
interesting. Yeah,
which just means that they hold it in a little. They held it maybe past tense in a little bit of a high regard. They were going to give it that spot, but I think it's I like the part where it transitions where I'd been taught from the beginning. I like the vocal melody. I like the way it's just one of those it's one of those weird kind of songs, man, and those always appeal to me. It fits in that vibe with like Strangest Tribe and even like we talked about with Buckle Up off the new record and like some of their weirder kind of songs like an Evacuation or something that has 3 bridges but yeah, I like it when they go a little off the beaten path and try something a little different. And Education is one. I wish they would. I wish they would play it more. I haven't seen it in my shows, so hopefully one day.
Yeah, I got it at PJ20, and I don't think I appreciated it as much at the time as I would today. And you know what you said is exactly right. It's a cool little song. It's got a very unique melody and style to it, and you know it's I can't put my finger on it. It's not like Middle Eastern sounding, but it's definitely like Eastern European.
A little bit. It's got a little bit of that kind of like you could picture there being like a sitar or something like that on there. Yeah. And again, Boom, you hear Boom on this version playing the little keyboards. It's very nice.
Yeah.
A great version of Education, I thought. And for something they don't play very often, they got through it pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. No, this was a good moment for the crowd in Mansfield. I think a lot of people are going to be taking this home, but Education followed by Satan's Bed and Whipping, like this is the Vitalogy section and two songs from Vitalogy that you're not going to hear every single night, and to really end the set, you're getting Glorified G there too. That's another one almost never played. So this right here is their sort of, you know, we're going to bust everything out just because this is the last night of the tour. So let's do it. Let's enjoy it. And, you know, Satan's Bed, I think you say all the time, it's never played to 100% of your liking. So I'm curious.
Well, not my liking, but I like it. It's not a personal thing. It's just you're not going to get the tight album version that you got, you know, early on, you know, like Atlanta 94 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I thought they got through it pretty well, you know. They didn't have to stop and start, which we couldn't say with Last Exit and Half Full. So, yeah, give them credit. They got through it.
Yeah, that into Whipping, again, the little Vitalogy section fits the mold of the set quite fine. So, not much more to say about those. And now we get to a part I kind of teased it before, Ed mentioning that there was a night one show, and he keeps saying Sunday. And he's like, oh, on Sunday. And you can audibly hear the crowd keep saying, Saturday! It's Saturday!
There's an audible, like, this crowd is going to mutiny. And, like,
over a day.
They were upset. Yeah.
Well, this is Boston we're talking about. That, like, I know we have fans from Boston, but they're very, like, with their whole community. If you don't get something right, if you don't know who the Red Sox third baseman is, they'll get on you. You'll hear about it, you know? Like, they're always...
First I was listening to this, and I didn't catch it at first because like the night thing had...
I didn't either, yeah.
Why are they yelling at him? Like, what is happening? Like, did someone get on stage? Is some, like... But, yeah, he just...
It was just over a day. And Ed gives it right back to him.
Right now when we're recording this. I've been in my house for over 2 months. I don't know what day it is.
This could be...
Give the man a break.
This could be Christmas for all I know. It's just...
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, don't even start with that. But it's funny because Ed gives them shit afterwards, and Ed can dish it right back, and he's like, "Oh, give me a fucking break. It's just great to be here in Rhode Island," and of course that's gonna rile him up a little bit. So you know,
oh yeah, don't troll Eddie because he will get you back.
Oh yeah,
he's the master.
Right, and he mentioned something after that about how Marines were trying to recruit at the show, and that's not something I've ever seen at a Pearl Jam show before, and I'm sure that they didn't really appreciate it. They made a point to make sure that they weren't doing it at this show. So
yeah, he makes an interesting point about it where it's like, you know, we don't have anything necessarily against the Marines, but these are our people. Like,
right, don't try to put them...
Like, yeah, don't try to take our people.
Right. Right.
You know,
yeah.
I thought that was a nice way to put it. I thought I appreciated that.
He said
that's a unique way to think about it. I thought that was great, the way he phrased it there, the way he thought about it.
Yeah, he uses the phrase, they're trying to get you to bite into a poison apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, that's cool how he's thinking about it like that, and he's seeing the fans as sort of theirs, and you know, obviously
it's a little more nuanced than like, you know, obviously the Iraq War and all that stuff was still very fresh in our minds, and it's better than being like, well, fuck that, you know,
right?
You know, that probably wouldn't have gotten as good a reaction, but the way he phrased it, you're like, Well, that makes sense. Yeah, these are the people. Like, these are the smart, cool Pearl Jam people. Like, don't mess with them.
Yeah, and I think that's something that comment
shows the respect they have for their fans.
Right. It's sort of a bipartisan comment, too, because, you know, if you're on either side of the fence, you can be like, oh, well, they care about my well-being. Great. I love them, too, and I care about their well-being. So, you know, everybody wins in that occasion. So we get to the end of the set here, Glorified G and Do the Evolution. Glorified G doesn't sound as bad as the last time we covered it.
Yeah, it picked up at the end. I thought it got to somewhere really nice at the end. I thought the ending part was great, but yeah, it's again the beginning, like the main part of the song is just not something tough. That resonates with me.
Yeah, it's a tough song to nail, especially nowadays. Again, you're getting one that they don't bust out on tour very often,
but it fits in with the theme of the the Marines.
Of course,
being that, I think that's probably why they tied it in.
Could have been an Army Reserve there. I don't know if that's too on the nose, but throw in another avocado. Yeah. But Evolution ends the main set. It felt like Ed was having a little bit of a tough time on it. Did you notice that at all?
Well, yeah, I think it too. Like I read in the PJ20 book about the next night. It talked about they had to sit down and like I think he was again. This has been it's almost not been the Around the World theme this year. It's been the Eddie's been sick at every show theme. But I think he maybe was feeling a little down at this show. Maybe having a hard time after getting through Satan's Bed, Whipping, and Glorified G. That's hard on the vocals.
That's a tough one.
I can see where he would be pushing it a little bit at the end here.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And maybe why the encores are a little softer than normal.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good point. That was one thing in looking and listening to the set that I was thinking. I'm like, the encores, they're not. I don't totally love the encores. I like them, but I feel like they were missing one or two songs from being great.
Yeah, I think you would
throw that out there.
It'd be interesting to go back and look at the set list to see if anything was crossed off, because I can see there maybe being a Breath or maybe being Black or something, or another big crowd moment that it might have been missing. But yeah, I mean, the man's at this point he's over 40, so we'll give him a break.
At that point, man, he was in his 40s. That's crazy. Yeah. Even just realize that they were in their 40s at that point. That feels like not long ago at all. So here we are in the encore now, and Ed comes out and he's singing a little bit as he's coming back out on stage, which is shows he's in a good mood and shows.
Did you think it sounded like Ark? Was it a little tease of Ark? Maybe a little throwback to the Experiment? It sounded a little bit like the beginning of the Ark loop.
You may be onto something. I don't know this for sure, but maybe Ark was the last time they played Ark was one of those Mansfield shows.
I believe it was, yeah.
So it could be a little throwback. It could just be Eddie, just high off of the wine, and
I mean, it's probably something he goes back to a lot,
Yeah, who knows? But they were, he mentions they were talking in the back about breaking the curfew, and mentions it's not about money because Mike volunteered to pay the fine for this one because he's the wealthiest guy in the band. He gets paid by the note, which
that was smart on his part.
Yes.
To negotiate that in the contract. Well done, Mike. Mm-hmm. That's why they play Even Flow every night. We figured it out.
Hey, there we go. Yep. That's why you get Even Flow. That's why you get Alive. That's why you get Corduroy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Makes a lot of sense now. So, and then he mentions that maybe the next time, if they get kicked out of here, they'll have to go play Fenway. So it took them 8 years, but they finally got there. It's funny that in 2008 that was on their minds, and it was more than worth the wait because we're sitting here in 2020, and the last show that they've played as a full band has been Fenway Park.
That's right.
I still think about that sometimes, and I just don't think that that's right. I don't think it's correct information.
18 months ago.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. So, just waiting is the hardest part. Tom Petty said it the best. So
Yeah, every day that goes by, we're in the longest drought between Pearl Jam shows now.
Right. So we start off the encore. We get B-Girl, which is incredibly rare for the time. 81 shows that it had a little bit of a layoff there, and it's just Ed and Jeff with an acoustic on stage. Only the 9th time they'd ever played it at the time, and now I think they're on 22, 25. So it's one of the rare ones.
I've seen it twice, so yeah, I can't.
Right, it pops up.
Yeah, it's around. Yeah.
So it's look. I feel like we've covered B-Girl enough. 25.
Yeah, it's just a little 2-minute thing,
Right.
Jeff and Ed get to come out by themselves, get to sit down. Jeff gets to play guitar. Something a little cool for the crowd. Yeah, it's a cool moment.
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy, and and for the longtime fans that are looking for different stuff, Definitely. It's one to knock off their list. So just nice little moment for the encore.
Yeah, a little end of the tour treat, absolutely.
Of course. And here's one that you would think in most cases would be rare, but Who You Are in 2008 was making a little bit of a resurgence, which is kind of crazy. Out of the 13 shows, it was played 7 times. And, it's just funny. Like, sometimes they just kind of get into a rhythm with the song, and they like how they're playing it, and they feel it, and they're like, you know what? We haven't done this in a real long time. Let's just keep doing it. And
I want to think
this
is Cameron's doing, because you think about, too, like, if you guys have ever been in a band, the drummer is a huge part of it, and even going back to 98, and we talked about those shows, like, the set list were kind of based around what he could learn in a short amount of time. And I think what happens, and this is just me hypothesizing, but
no, I know where you're going with this, and I think I'm on the same page.
When they do tour rehearsals, I think Matt is the one who leads it, and is like, they're like, Ed maybe come in and like, hey, I want to do this one and this one and this one, and Matt goes, okay, I can do this one and this one, and we need to practice this one. And I think sometimes I think this is Cameron going like, hey guys, Who You Are, like, I think I got something worked out for that. Let's give it a shot. So I think they liked it, and I think it got played a lot this year. I think that's probably why I'm going to say Cameron was the impetus behind that.
I can see that. Yeah, no, I'm in on that theory all the way.
He starts it off. It's a really cool little drum thing he's doing. It's not exactly the same thing that Jack does on the album, but it fits in nicely. It's really cool.
Not condescend, transcendental consequence is to transcend where we are. Who are we? Who we are. Trampled walls on your souls, changes
Who You Are, I'll spoil it right now. Who You Are is my number one moment from the show. I thought it was fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny because, that going back to those MSG shows, those are the ones that stick out in my mind, obviously, but they don't intro with that drum section. They intro right away into the ba 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 like that, so it,
and the only no code song, I believe, too.
That would be it, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, mixing in a lot of different ones, you're only getting one from the most recent record. So with that, everything else that's thrown in is a big jumble. 10 and Vitalogy both have 5 songs in the show, and
right.
Lost Dogs with 4 verses, and Yield both with 3. So I thought no binaural, because obviously no binaural, but education
kind of counts. Yeah.
Sure.
Same era.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, no, I thought Who You Are was great. It kind of fit with this, the slow burn kind of section, and they aren't, going back to sort of what I was saying, what they were missing in this encore is that most of these songs were more of the mid-tempo paced, and you get Better Man after Who You Are, and it's tough to say that Better Man is a really mid-tempo song because they get really, really into it at the end, but it still sort of has that feel that it just kind of builds to it. It's not like
it's not
a fast song like a State.
Right.
It's not a Go. It's not any of those. So when you see that, you feel like it's more of a part of the slower section than it is the faster one. But really, this version was very, very good because the crowd
the crowd
was
makes
really hot on it.
Yeah, I was waiting for the big, long save it for later, but instead he does a really good call and response, and the crowd is on top of it, like they are hitting every little pitch on his a little vocal improv there. So yeah, fantastic version of Better Man.
That's all got to be feel from him. Obviously he's thinking save it for later, but he's probably on a high with the crowd, and he's like, okay, you show me what you got right here, because
and it could be trying to rest his voice
your
too.
show.
Save it for later. It's a little wordier. It's a little tougher on the vocals. So maybe just doing a little bits of piece in there, give him a chance to rest.
Yeah, for sure.
Near the end of the show here.
Two songs left in the first encore, then 5 for the second. They're short encores, so to speak, within, comparing it to other encores either in this time period or afterwards. It's only a 26-song show, so it's not a whole lot. But I think they do make the best of their situation. I would have liked one more of those fast songs, but they go, and this would be the spot for it right here. This was a little from Better Man into Garden. I feel like they should have went Better Man into State of Love and Trust, Better Man into a Go, something that's more.
Yeah, that's again, I think I'd have to go. I wish we'll have to go back and see if there's an actual handwritten set list that we can look at, because it'd be interesting to see if there was anything marked off there.
But the interesting thing that comes to my mind when I think Garden in this era was that MSG show was the first time they had played Garden in 50 shows, and they played it again at the Hartford show. So this is 3 out of 4 nights. So this might be another one, maybe on the same plane as Who You Are, where either Cameron or somebody in the band is saying, hey, that version we did the other night, let's keep that momentum going. We were feeling it.
And they were warm on it, so they felt like they could get through it and felt like it was good. So yeah, keep going with it. It's just like playing sports. Somebody gets hot, keep feeding them the ball, man.
Exactly.
If it's working, keep playing it.
For sure. And again, Matt is the MVP for me on this show. It's the drum section in this and how heavy sounding it is. Really bassy toms. Oh man,
it's turned into version. This is almost the most headbanging Pearl Jam song. With the way they play the end now, you can really get into like a good headbang.
I don't stay
It's not that version that they did a couple of years before this, where it was kind of like very Phantom of the Opera, where
when they changed it up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's still it takes the elements of that and still uses it for a version like this, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So your penultimate song is a song from 10, and you're closing the encore with the song from 10 as well, with Why Go. And Mike is doing some really, really cool stuff off this intro. We talked about it in, Evolution episodes and some past episodes, maybe even last week with Prague we mentioned it, a little bit of the Mike laser sound effects.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of that here, and again, lots of crowd participation. Band is at full energy, closing out the first encore.
Yeah, the thing with Why Go, it seemed like we mentioned Mike's really loud in the mix. It's almost like Jeff is not very loud in this mix. I don't know if it was
Jeff
something on their side of the stage, whereas something with the amps, or like you said, something with the guitars. But I really missed. You don't get a full thick Jeff sound in this mix for some reason.
Yeah,
I think Why Go was missing that a little bit. But I'm sure if you were there, it sounded great.
Yeah.
Just didn't translate as well to the bootleg mix for some reason.
For sure, and I think that when you think of Why Go, that is a Jeff song that you want Jeff to be the most prominent person on in it. Yeah. I agree with that. But look, this is I think Why Go in this time period too, maybe another that's sort of making, if not a comeback, then this was the first time that it was used as a more common song, where
they went bit of a resurgence.
Right, they went for such a layoff from 96 or 95 till the Mansfield 2003 shows, I believe, was the first time they brought it back, and I now it's a completely common song. You're gonna get this song one out of every 2 or 3 shows. So I want to say that this tour might have been the beginning of that. Now, obviously, Why Go is very much a standard part of the set.
Oh, yeah. This era is a lot of the beginning of what they would do for the next decade. Like the beginning of kind of the modern era from the Avocado tour. Absolutely.
Yeah. We hop in Encore 2 a little bit, and Ed is on stage by himself and says we're proud of ourselves for sticking through it as a band through all these years and couldn't have done it without the help from everybody. And when times get tough, to have this many people out here to play twice this summer is a phenomenal feeling, and it's the last fucking summer of George Bush, so it's just going to get better. You know what I'd like it to be the last fucking summer of here? Anyway, moving on. We've been,
like we talked about before, it's so quaint to think about, like George W. Bush, like we had it so good back then.
Yeah, we really did, but we really didn't. He talks a little bit about the Iraq War here, and he talks a little bit about Thomas Young, who, if you're unfamiliar with Thomas Young, he was a Iraqi veteran that was paralyzed in the war, and very outspoken about how he was treated and how he was against the war. Yeah. The big part of this story was that Thomas Young was set to introduce Obama at a rally in Kansas City, but he got really sick during this time period, and he was in the ICU for a while, so he was unfortunately wasn't able to introduce him. I don't remember if he ever got a chance to, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. It's not coming to my mind.
Yeah,
right
he
now,
lived until 2014, so he made it through.
Yeah,
almost all the Obama years. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. Yeah. No, he did a lot of activism stuff. He was really vital to that. So No More was, look, 2008 era. They were doing this a lot because it was the end of the Bush administration, and I think that was really on their minds at the time. And again, his relationship with Thomas Young kind of ties into where the song fit in within the live catalog of Pearl Jam.
Yeah, and this is kind of a unique song. Like, it was kind of the bonus record that came with the End of the Wild thing, the 10 Club version. You had No More and then No More Live on there. So technically it's an Ed Solo song. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's a kind of a folk protest song in the in the lineage of like Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like
Woody
early,
Guthrie, sure.
early Bob Dylan, like stuff like that. It fits in with that. It was just not something they do very often. So, yeah, actually, I don't mind at all. I mean, it sounds a little dated at this point to go back and think about it. 12, 13 years later, but for the time, like, yeah, it's, I absolutely love it. It's a great tune, and like I like the way he goes off at the end, and yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think one of the, very small things that soured me about the song was that in my first 2 shows, I saw it in the same spot, and I was just like, I didn't want that solo
That's
Eddie.
on you.
That's not on me. That's not.
Yeah,
that's
but
not
again,
on them
it's
either.
something that
It was
something that
happenstance.
it's going to be retired at this point. You're not going to get no more.
No, I know, and
it's had its moment, and it's done.
I've come to appreciate it a little more because of that. But that stuck in my mind for a while, that it was sort of not a song that I favored for a little bit. But anyway, carrying on, we get the Mama-san, but it is in very much a scrambled order here.
It's like they put it on shuffle. They put the cassette tape on shuffle.
Right. You start.
That's what I have. Yeah.
You start with Once, Into Footsteps, then Alive. So you kind of start in the middle and then finish off in the beginning. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it's the best way at the end of the set to do this, because you don't, outside of No More, I don't think you want to go into a slower song or the same kind of pacing with Footsteps. You want to get the crowd back into it. Then you can go into Footsteps and then Alive. It's just, it would be weird if they did the Mama-san at the end of a set like this where Footsteps ends it and Alive into Once is just, it's not the same as it was in 92,
Yeah, this is almost like it's almost like the live, redux of it. Like we had
right.
the 10 redux came out in 2011. This is almost like if they were going to do a Mama-san redux live, this would be the order.
Yeah. Look, I could take Footsteps as a closer. I think it could work.
Sure.
I think it has that same sort of ideal as Indifference a little bit, where you can turn the house lights up and you can get a little bit of harmonica.
We go back to the crowd on this. The crowd is singing over the harmonica part, right, where like they're like, no, this is the part where you sing, and he's
right.
trying to play the harmonica part. And just great stuff from the crowd. Like I'm sure they appreciated that. But yeah, love Footsteps. You get a little piano tinkling from Boom again. We mentioned it in Education. Comes back a little bit here on Footsteps, so that was nice.
Boom didn't have too many moments on this show, but yeah, Footsteps was one of the better Boom moments. And you finish off the Mama-san with Alive a little bit, and it felt a little sluggish for Alive on a very fast show, but you know what? It's Alive, and you still get that euphoric fan moment for the end of the set, and it still works. And
and again, McCready takes over at the end, and he's getting paid by the note, so he's gonna just cram as many in there as he can. For sure.
And I think you got to think in your heads, once Alive hits, or even once Footsteps hits, hey, this is towards the end of the show. Are we getting kind of a Mama-san here, or is this something that maybe because it's not played in order, it's not even popping up in people's heads?
Yeah, it didn't even. I was listening to it. It didn't even occur to me until Alive started, and I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, hey, it's those 3 songs."
Right.
And they don't make a mention of it or anything. So I think it's just something he kind of snuck in there to kind of be a little sly and sneaky.
Yeah, and I honestly, I probably would have been the same way if we didn't just cover a show that did the full Mama-san. So it was pretty sneaky for sure, but especially
at the end of the
it's a cool
little nod to their history. He mentioned 92, so yeah, they always kind of like to throw in those little tie-ins to the early days at these shows.
For sure. So we invite Ted Leo and the Pharmacists onto the stage. Finally. Not a band I really care for at all.
That's your mistake. Ted Leo and the Pharmacists are great.
I can disagree with that because I've seen them open for a couple different bands and I was just not into it. Just not for me.
I think they're fantastic. And I have all the records. I helped kickstart his latest album, his solo record. The Hanged Man. I think it's fantastic. He's a great guitar player, great singer. His band, he had, they were kind of DC based. He had some awesome people in his band, and I thought they were great. All their records are great. Go check them out if you're interested. I think they were touring Shake the Sheets at this point, which is one of my favorites. But yeah, I absolutely love this. I would have been going crazy if I wish they'd played Atlanta on this tour, because I would have loved to see Ted Leo open for Pearl Jam. That's so cool.
Yeah, he gets a little part in this where he gets to sing a little bit of Rockin.
Yeah, fantastic.
It was a nice moment, sure.
It's a girl of the night with a baby in her hand, down on the straight line by a garbage can. Now she puts her kid away and she's gonna get a hit, and she hates her life and what she done with it. That's one more kid that'll never go to school, never learn and never love, never get to feel cooler. All rock in the free world. All rockin' in the free world.
This is probably not his crowd. Like, again, Ted Leo, his music is probably best experienced in a small club somewhere. Like,
right.
The times I've seen him, it's been in 300 to 500, person rooms, not in 15,000, seat arena or something. Probably, sure. I can see where it wouldn't translate as well live, but still, I love his songs. I think he's amazing.
I have to bring this up. We're at the end of the set here, and I think in that, again, third mention of that Copenhagen show, where we talked about how it's kind of impossible to not end a show with Ledbetter that's ending a full tour, but here we are. This might have been the last time that a tour happened and you didn't end with Ledbetter, but is it one and the same if you're ending with Rockin', or do you feel like you need Ledbetter for the end?
It's a close second. I don't think you ever need anything. I mean, it's up to them to play what they want to play, but I think,
it's the last tour.
Rockin' is right there. Yeah, it's right there and behind Ledbetter as one that they can. And it might just have been they wanted to bring Ted Leo out, and he might have not been feeling great. They might have cut it. Again, if we look at the original set list, it might have been on there. They might have cut it off. It
was kind of crazy. They didn't
something with the curfew. This is a 26 songs, but it's a long show.
They didn't do it night one, so that's, to me, when you're doing back-to-back shows, especially you go back to the Mansfield show from 2003 where nobody would leave until they would play Ledbetter, throw back to that.
Thinking they got it twice back then. They don't need it.
That's a fair point, but it's always on their minds that either you can go either one of two ways. You can either pay homage to something and do it again, where you feel something from a certain building. We've said with Madison Square Garden before, they'll usually play Breath in Madison Square Garden, or it'll be the opposite, where they know, okay, we did Ledbetter in Mansfield last time. Let's change it up. Let's get the same crowd that was probably there for that show. Let's get them a couple different songs. So it could have been that. But
I can see either way. Sure.
Yeah. End of the set. That's it. It's now we get to pick some songs and pick our favorite moments. You already spoiled yours. So what are your other two?
Yeah. So I'm gonna do something I don't think I've ever done with the three moments. I'm gonna pick Who You Are is my number one of the best versions I've ever heard, not from '96, which is saying something. And but I'm gonna go with the bookends. I'm gonna go with Wash and Rockin' in the Free World.
Cool.
I thought Wash was a great opener, a little acoustic stone intro, and then Ted Leo and the Pharmacist coming out for Rockin' in the Free World. Ted Leo gets to take a verse there. That was a nice surprise for me. I thought it was a great way to end it. You get the little free speech chant at the end of Rockin' in the Free World. I thought it was great. So those are my three: the first song, the last song, and the only no code song.
Yeah, I think here I liked most of the stuff that you were able to hear the crowd. I really liked Elderly Woman from the show. Garden might be my favorite moment from the show just because Matt was just a freaking machine on it. And, Even Flow is another one where both Matt and Mike were absolutely on fire. I have to give a little bit of a nod to that. But also the false start on Last Exit and then turning it into something that you don't usually get from Last Exit, a little call and response back with the crowd, and that's sort of the feeder moment into this set where you could say, hey, we're bringing in the crowd to be a part of this as much as we're doing this on stage. It's like everybody is here performing together. So I gotta give a little nod to that. So I know I mentioned like 2 or 3 things in there. I would say Elderly Woman and Last Exit and Garden would be the 3 out of the bunch. So, all right, rating time.
Yeah. I really like this set. I thought like I said, it flowed really well. Everybody had good moments. The mix in the bootleg might not have been perfect, but that really didn't take me out of it. I was able to appreciate it. Great versions of some songs. Who You Are, Better Man, like you said, Even Flow with the drum solo, Small Town. The first 4 or 5, you get that run with Wash, Last Exit, Save You, Severed Hand Animal. I thought was fantastic. I'm going to give this a 9.
Whoa. Oh, that's a big rating.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I don't see this as being an upper echelon show like that. I think that the encores, in a sense, were lacking a little bit for me because you want a little bit more of the meat and potatoes. And going back and looking at that first set, a couple of those songs that we mentioned that could have worked in a spot where Garden was in, or, in addition to Garden, were played. So you take a couple of songs off the table that way. But I don't know, it was, the main set was curated good, and they were great. And, I don't think that this was one that's gonna really stand out in my mind when I think about shows in the future.
So are you gonna break protocol and give it like a 3?
No. Nothing ever gets a 3. No, it's not awful. I think it's like a 6.5 to me.
Ooh.
I don't think it's that. Look, it's in that good territory, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I don't have a lot of things that I'm gonna really take away from it.
Got all
that
the
are
Mama San there at the end.
Yeah, but Mama San to me, I don't know.
Who You Are, Better Man, Garden Stretch is great.
Yeah, I like
Education, Satan's Bed.
It's
6.5 is rough. 6.5.
It's all
rough.
It's all fine, but I don't know. It's I don't know. There was something a little bit missing for me. It didn't feel as big as I thought it would have. And
well, you haven't convinced me. I'm sticking with a 9.
That's fine. No, that's fine. And you haven't convinced me. I'm sticking with a 6.5. So there we are on the same page, as we're not on the same page. All right. We're at the end of the show.
Just dock points for Ted Leo. If Ted Leo hadn't been on there, you probably would have given it like a 7.5.
You might be right about that, but
see, I can't go with that. That bumped it
you
up. You
added
for
points.
Me to make up for it. Yeah,
I was going to say that Rockin' in the Free World was one of your moments. So
that's right.
All right, we're going to be back at it next week with Marseille, France from 2006. We haven't done a lot of the 2006 European tour yet, and this will be a nice little addition. We're going to have a great guest who's been on the show before, Steve Maytan, who's talked about his experiences, and possibly going to get Matt back on the show at this point. Who the hell knows?
Steve was on really early on, but he hasn't been on in a while, so that'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do something really interesting. So we're gonna do Marseille next week, and then the week after that is gonna be Bern, Switzerland from the same year, and they were back-to-back days. And Steve was at both shows, so wanted to get from him his full experience and kind of talking about what he was expecting going into the second night, and he went to 2 other shows on that tour, I believe Bologna and Paris, and he'll talk about the whole tour experience, and I think we'll get a lot of really good info from him and really good experiences and memories from that. So that should be really enjoyable. Really You're getting Dirty Frank, so there you go.
Put the sign downs. We see you. Put the signs down.
Yeah, exactly. Every now and again we throw you a bone, but anything else? Anything else we got for them? keep interacting with us on social media. Keep sending in your emails, and anybody that's interested in our Patreon, we're gonna right at the end here throw in a little bit of this week's set list draft that we did. So we'll throw in the first 3 picks to just show you what a set list draft is like and sort of the madness, so to speak, of what the set list draft can become. So a little bit of preview for that, and if you like that and want some more, head on over to patreon.com/live on 4 legs. But besides that, John, any final words?
Stay safe, everybody. Again, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.
This may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, I miss you already, and I miss you always. For John and Randy, and thank you again to Jason Corbin for pitching this show to us, and for a long, healthy relationship and marriage that came out of this show. We're very happy to have shared his story today. So from Mansfield 2008, on to next week. We will see you then.
We'll have to get Jason to tell us what he thought about Ted Leo to break the tie. Stay safe, everybody. Bye. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started here. We did do a little dice rolling earlier, and our order is going to be Randy picking first, Joey picking second, Deborah picking third, and Brian picking fourth. And we're going to snake through, so we'll go in reverse order for the second round, and so forth, so on and so forth. So here we go. Without, like I said, without further ado, Randy, what is the number 1 pick? I think the last 2 times it's been released.
It's been released all 3 times. No, I'm going in a completely different direction. It's another last song off an album, but instead of it being the last song off the first album, it's the last song off the most current album. We are opening up the show with River Cross.
Cool.
Well, I will be a mess of tears if that does happen. So thank you for that. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. Well, we'll see if they actually break that out early on. I can totally see it.
Yeah, I think it's just it's an emotional way to start the show, and really it's kind of an experiment. So let's see where this takes us.
All right, so your first Gigaton song is off the board early. Joey, that takes us to you. What are you going? What's your opener?
Okay, so didn't expect I would have this opportunity. I had a wide range of openers on my list here, one of which was Rivercross. So thank you, Randy, for guiding me in one direction. So I'm going to be the one who chooses Release, just because it's my favorite Pearl Jam song of all time. Period. All right. So why not? And obviously we're going for emotional openers, and it's easy to go in that direction at least. So why not?
Now, I should mention too. So Release is off the board. I should mention too, I don't think I mentioned this up front. Alive is still communal for everyone. So, but Black is not. So if someone takes Black, it is off the board. But if someone takes Alive, it's still open for everyone to choose. Deborah, what is going to be your opening song?
Well, whether it makes sense or not, I'm picking Corduroy.
All right, going with the Fast and Furious.
Did you just say that doesn't make sense?
I said it never doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay, good.
Corduroy can literally be anywhere and still be amazing.
Brian, you chose the last pick of the first round. How did these 3 play out? Is your song that you were hoping for still out there?
Yeah, my song's here. It's kind of hasn't been played in a long time to open a show. But it's something that I think I've only heard it one time, and it was not as an opener, but that song is Of the Girl.
Ooh. All right, then you have the first pick of the second round as well. So Of the Girl into?
I'm going to take that into Oceans.
Nice.
Never thought about that transition before. That's pretty good.
Now, you're going with all O songs so far. Does that mean Olay is going to be your next one?
Might be.
Okay.
Off he goes once.
Yeah, I'm saying. All right, so
take it while it's there.
Back to Deborah, coming off of Corduroy. Do we slow it down after that, or are we keeping the fast pace?
Fuck no, I'm not slowing down. Super Blood Wolf Moon would be number 2. I got to start with fire, man.
All right. Back to Joey. You did go with the slow open with Release. So are we gonna keep that going, or are we ramping it up a little bit?
Although it would be in late Pearl Jam style to do that, I'm not going to because I am so like the most strongly setlist related thing I believe right now is I want them to open this tour once we all come back with Release going into Whoever Said. So I'm choosing Whoever Said as my first Gigaton song.
I think that's fairly realistic. Can see that happening.
I'm glad I got that 1-2 punch. I was nervous about that.
All right, back to Randy. Coming off of River Cross, anything you do after that is gonna be a letdown emotionally. Everyone's in tears in your audience right now. How are you gonna bring them back?
What if I just continued putting them to tears? What if they just wanted to make people cry for the first 10 minutes of this show, because that's what's going to end up happening. Yeah, I'm going to keep with an emotional open here, and I am going to go second song in with Long Road.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah, that is something. And so now you've got these two, River Cross and Long Road. So you've destroyed everyone emotionally in the audience.
Now I'm just gonna.
There's just a puddle of emotions on the floor.
I'm gonna flat out confuse everybody now. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while. Why it hasn't been in this like three song slow burn open, and I kind of equate it to how a present tense is sort of a build, and then it ramps up, and when it ramps up at the end, it can take you in any direction. You can go fast, you can go slow with it, and I think I see this as the same sort of potential. It's not played in the opener spots at all. It's more of a mid-set, maybe a closer, encore song sometimes, but my third song in my set list is going to be Immortality.
Are we getting the little opening there, a little pretty intro to it? Okay.
No, I think they're going right into it. I think it's just going to surprise everybody.
That would be a surprise. All right, Joey, Release and Whoever Said. Are we going to continue with the album, or are we going to go in a different direction?
I think we're gonna. I think I'm saving space for myself here, so I'm gonna keep going fast. But I'm going to go with the song that I blocked Randy from picking, and I'm going to pick Sad at number 3.
Sad at number 3. All right. So, Deborah, Corduroy, and Super Blood Wolf Moon.
And I think I'm going to have to go with Smile.
That's a powerful pick right there.
Early Smile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I told you I'm going to get a lot of those.
Well,
didn't even think about Smile.
It's creative. Yeah, it's creative for sure.
So they could get some switching up instruments early there. I like that. So Brian, you've got 2. Both of yours started with O. There's still a lot of O songs on the board. So where are we going with your next 2?
I'm actually going to switch it up and go with Elderly Woman.
It's a crowd pleaser.
As my third pick. And as my fourth pick, I'm going to take it into Nothing Man.
Nice.
Ooh. Brian, the only one not to take a Gigaton song so far.